Here we are.
Howdy, viewers.
Yes. Yeah. And and they're all going just straight to public on YouTube now. Yeah. So there we are.
So no pressure in reading skills then.
Nah. You've seen me, I think, in the bars. It's pretty low, so it's all good. Um, did you want to start?
Can do, yeah.
Or do you want me to start while you finish eating?
No, yeah, actually, you start.
Yep.
What?
Yep. Yep.
Wait. Uh,
Oh,
did you say
actually, I'm just
there
going
was
to
an
change.
explanation for sort of where we're at in this as well? You're saying?
Oh, I can't like we're kind of just at the end of the wedding, and yeah, like everyone's leaving the wedding, I guess. And I can't remember what the title for this section was, but I know that when we get to number 360, it's a little while off. Um, it'll be yeah, I've got the title here, so we'll pause at the start of 360, and I think that'll actually be the last one for Balakanda,
Yep.
as in the last kind of table of contents thing. Yeah. All right. There we go. Halting at convenient stages in course of the journey and gladdening the people on the roadside, the marriage procession approached Ayodhya on a sacred day. Kettle drums were beaten and good labors sounded, accompanied by the blast of sackbuts and conches, and the neighing of horses and trumpeting of elephants. Similarly, there was a clash of cymbals and drums, while clarinets played sweet tunes. The citizens were all delighted to hear the procession coming. The hair on their body stood erect. They all decorated their own beautiful houses as well as the markets, streets, squares, and gates of the city. All the lanes were watered with perfumes. Here and there, festal squares were filled with elegant devices. The bazaar was beautified beyond all description with festal arches, flags, banners, and canopies. Trees of the areca nut, the plantain, the mango, the bakula, the kadamba, and the tamala were transplanted along with their fruit. The beautiful trees thus planted touched the ground on account of their being laden with fruits. They had basins of precious stones constructed around them with exquisite skill. Festal vases of various kinds were arranged in order in every house. Brahma and the other gods were filled with envy to see the birthplace of Sri Rama, the chief of Raghus. The king's palace looked very charming on that occasion. Its decoration captivated the heart of Cupid himself. It looked as if auspicious omens and loveliness, affluence and mystical powers, joys and smiling prosperity, and all kinds of rejoicings had assumed a natural, beautiful form and taken their abode in the palace of King Dasharatha. Tell me who would not feel tempted to have a look at Sri Rama and Videha's daughter. Married women whose husbands were alive sallied forth in troops, each eclipsing love's consort Rati by her beauty. They all carried articles of good omen and were equipped with lights for waving around the bridegrooms. As they moved along singing all the way, it appeared as if Goddess Bharati, the goddess of speech, had appeared in so many forms. The king's palace was full of hilarious tumult. The joy of the occasion was ineffable. Kausalya and other mothers of Sri Rama were so overwhelmed with emotion that they forgot their own body. After worshipping Lord Ganesha and the slayer of the demon Tripura, they bestowed enormous gifts upon the Brahmanas and were supremely delighted as an utterly indigent man who had attained the four great prizes of life. All the mothers were so overcome with joy and rapture that their feet refused to walk and all their limbs began to droop as it were. Full of intense longing for a sight of Sri Rama, they began to get everything ready for the reception of their sons. Music of every kind started playing, while Sumitra gladly got together articles of good omen such as turmeric, blades of urva grass, curds, ordinary leaves, flowers, betel leaves, areca nuts, auspicious roots, unbroken rice, sprouts of barley, garochana, parched paddy, and lovely blossoms of the basil plant. Exceedingly charming gold vases, painted with various colours, looked like nests built by Cupid's own birds. Auspicious perfumes defied all description. In this way, all the queens prepared all sorts of auspicious articles. They got ready rows of lights arranged in various devices for waving round their sons, and with a cheerful heart sang melodious festal strains. Do you want to keep going?
Sure.
Hey,
Um,
yeah. What?
I just had a question where, so back at like uh, 343, paragraph 3,
Go back at the start there.
um, yours said it appeared as if Goddess Bharati, did you say? The goddess of speech?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm trying to find it, but yeah,
yeah. Um, Mine says Sarasvati, so just it's, you know, different names for the same being, but just, yeah.
I haven't heard that name for Saraswati before.
No, neither, yeah, neither had I, and that's why I just brought it up.
Yeah, I wonder if it's right.
Yeah, probably is.
Yeah,
It's probably
yesterday when we were reading, they were talking all about Dasharata, and then in the next sentence they wrote his name and they'd written Desharata, like it was all right, but they'd put an E instead of an A, so it's just obviously a spelling mistake.
Mm,
So I
yeah.
guess just Who knows? Um,
All right.
but
Uh,
yeah, I was just gonna say, I like to shut my eyes and just listen. So when you stop, can you just let me know
of course. Yeah.
where you're up to? I'm not gonna fall asleep. You have to wait.
Oh, you can if you need to. Um, Carrying in their lotus hands salves of gold laden with articles of good omen. Queen mothers proceeded joyfully to perform arti, parachana by way of welcome, every limb of their body throbbing with emotion. The sky became dark with the fumes of burning incense, as though overhung with the fast gathering clouds of the month of Shravana, mid-July, mid-August. The gods rained down wreaths of flowers from the tree of paradise, which looked like rows of herons in their graceful flight. Lovely festoons made of jewels looked like rainbows appearing in a row. Charming ladies appearing on the housetops as quickly as they went out of sight looked like the fitful flashes of lightning. The beat of drums resembled the crash of thunder, while beggars were as clamorous as the kataka birds, frogs, and peacocks. The gods poured down showers in the form of sacred perfume, which gladdened the crop in the form of all citizens. Perceiving that the auspicious hour had arrived, the preceptor, Vasitha, Vasista, gave the word, and the jewel of Raghu's race, King Dasartha gladly entered the city with all his followers, fixing his mind on the Bhagavan Shiva, Goddess Parvati, and Lord Ganesh. Good omens manifested themselves, and the gods rained down flowers to the beat of drums, while celestial dames danced joyfully, singing melodious, perpetuous songs. Bards, minstrels, rhapsodists, and skilled dancers chanted the glory of Sri Rama, who illumes all the three worlds. Auspicious shouts of victory and the sacred and melodious chanting of the Vedas were heard in all the 10 directions. Musical instruments of all kinds began to be played. Gods in heaven and men in the city were enraptured alike. Members of the marriage party looked smart beyond description. They were highly delighted and could not contain themselves with joy. The people of Ayodhya then greeted the king and were delighted at the very sight of Sri Rama. They scattered about him jewels and vestments. Their eyes were full of tears of love, and their bodies thrilled all over. The women of the city gladly performed arti and rejoiced to see the 4 noble princes. They were all the more gratified when they lifted the curtains of the beautiful palanquins and beheld the brides. Thus gladdening the hearts of all, they arrived at the entrance of the royal palace. The delighted mothers performed arti of the princess and their brides. They performed arti again and again. The love and rapture which they felt in their heart was beyond all description. They scattered about their sons and daughters-in-law's ornaments, jewels, costumes of various kinds, and innumerable other articles. Queen mothers were enraptured to behold their 4 sons along with their brides. As they gazed again and again on the beauty of Sita and Sri Rama, they felt delighted, and having the object of their life in this world realized, they were in bliss. The companions, as they gazed on Sita's countenance over and over again, sang and exalted their good fortune. Moment after moment, the gods rained down flowers, danced and sang, and offered their services. Seeing the four charming couples, goddess Sarasvati ransacked all her stock of similes, but her choice fell on none. All appeared too trivial. She, therefore, stood gazing on them with unwinking eyes, enchanted by their beauty. After performing the rites prescribed by the Vedas or family usage, the queens performed Parachana, waved lights, of all the princes and their brides, and conducted them to the palace, offering water at their feet, welcome ceremony as per family custom, and spreading carpets for them all along the way. There were 4 exquisitely beautiful thrones, which had been fashioned, as it were, by Cupid with his own hands. The queen mothers seated the brides and bridegrooms on them, and reverently laved their holy feet. They then worshipped the blessed couples in accordance with the Vedic ritual by incense and light, and offering them oblations of food. They performed their arti again and again, and also waved beautiful fans and chowries over their heads. They scattered offerings of various kinds about them. The mothers were as full of exultation as a yogi who has realized the highest truth, or as a lifelong patient who has been able to lay his hands on nectar, or as a born pauper who has stumbled on a philosopher's stone, or as a blind man who has regained a good vision, or as a dumb fellow whose tongue has been transfused with the eloquence of Sarasvati, the goddess of speech, or even as a hero who has triumphed in battle. The mothers drive joy millions of times greater than the joys mentioned above. For in their case, it was the moon of Raghu's race, Sri Rama himself, who had returned home with his brothers duly married. As the mothers performed their traditional rites, the brides and their grooms felt shy, while Sri Rama smiled within himself on perceiving the ecstasy and merriment of the occasion. The mothers gratefully worshipped the gods and mains with due ceremony, for all the cravings of their heart had been fulfilled. Bowing to them all, they begged as a boon the welfare of Sri Rama and his brothers. The gods, all invisible, conferred their blessings from the heavens, and the mothers gladly received them by spreading the palu. Sorry. The gods, all invisible, conferred their blessings from the heavens, and the mothers gladly received them by spreading their palu, upper portion of their salaries, as a token of gratitude. The king sent for those who had joined the marriage party and gave them vehicles, wearing apparel, jewels, and ornaments. Having received the king's permission and enshrining Sri Rama's image in their heart, they joyfully returned each to his own abode. All the men and women of the city were invested with garments and jewels, and there was festal music in every home. The king, in exultation, gave whatever the medicines asked for. Every attendant and every musician was sated with gifts and all care. They all saluted and invoked blessing upon the king and sang his praises. And thereafter the king, accompanied by his preceptor and other brahmanas, proceeded to the palace. Under Vahishta's direction, the king reverently performed all the ceremonies prescribed, either by usage or by the Veda. The queens, on seeing a crowd of brahmanas, deemed themselves most fortunate, and all rose to greet them. They laved the feet of the holy ones and helped them all perform their ablutions, while the king duly worshipped and entertained them at meal. Overwhelmed with the host's civility, gifts, and love, They departed glad at heart, invoking blessings on them. Chagadi's son, Vishwamitra, the king paid homage in various ways and said, "My lord, there is no one so blessed as I am." The king lavished his praises on him and took the dust of his feet along with his queens. He assigned the sage a fine dwelling on his own place in his own palace, while the king and his whole Gynoeceum kept a vigilant eye on his wants, even though unexpressed. Again he adored the lotus feet of his preceptor, Vasista, and made humble submission to him with great affection in his heart. You want to take over, Brendan?
Are we up to? About which number were you up to?
352.
Oh. All the princes with their brides and the king with his queens bowed to the preceptor's feet again and again, while the great sage invoked blessings on them all. With his heart overflowing with love, he made entreaties to the Guru and placed his sons and all his wealth before him. The great sage, however, asked for and accepted only his customary due as a family priest for the ceremonial occasion and blessed him in profusion. With the image of Sita and Rama installed in his heart, he gladly proceeded to his own residence. The king then summoned all the Brahmana dames and invested them with beautiful robes and ornaments. He next sent for the married women of the city whose husbands were alive and who, though born in Ayodhya, were married elsewhere, and presented them with garments of their liking. All those who were entitled to receive gifts and presents on ceremonial occasions received their dues from the Jewel of Kings, who rewarded them according to their choice. And the king duly honored those guests who he regarded as worthy of affection and adoration. The gods who witnessed Sri Rama's wedding rained down flowers while applauding the jubilation. And with beat of drum, the celestials gladly proceeded, each to his abode, talking to one another of Sri Rama's glory with their heart overflowing with love. Having shown everyone all possible honor, the king, whose heart was overbrimming with joy, visited the private apartments and beheld the princes of their brides. He gladly took the boys in his arms and experienced a thrill of joy which nobody could tell. Similarly, he affectionately seated the brides in his lap and fondled them again and again with a heart full of rapture. The ladies of the Gynoeceum were delighted to behold this spectacle. The heart of everyone became an abode of joy. The king related how the wedding had taken place, and everyone was delighted to hear the account. The goddess amiability, the goodness, amiability, nobility, loving nature, and the splendid wealth of King Janaka were extolled by King Dasharatha in a variety of ways, even as rhapsodists would do. And the queens were enraptured to hear the record of his doings. After bathing with his sons, the king called the Brahmanas, the preceptor, and his own kinsmen, having entertained them at meal, feasted himself on a variety of dishes till a couple of hours of the night had passed. It's a long meal. Lovely women sang joyous songs, and the night became a source of delight and soul enchanting. After rinsing, after rinsing their mouth, the king and his party were all given betel leaves and adorned with garlands and sandal paste. They looked most charming, looking once more at Sri Rama, and having received his permission, they proceeded each to his own house, bowing their heads to him. The love and rapture, merriment and magnanimity, prosperity, splendor, and loveliness that manifested there were more than could be told by 100 Sharadas and Sheshas, Vedas and Brahmas, Shivas and Ganeshas. How then can I describe them at length any more than an earthly serpent could support the globe on its head? The king then summoned the queens, and showing every honor to them all, admonished them in gentle tones. The brides are yet damsels and have come to a strange house. Therefore, take care of them as the eyelids protect the eyes. The boys are tired and feeling drowsy. Go and put them to bed. So saying, he retired to his own bedroom with his mind fixed on Sri Rama's fate. Hearing the sweet and loving words of the king, the queens made ready bejeweled beds of gold and furnished them with many a rich covering, soft and white as the froth of cow's milk, and pillows more charming than words can tell. The bedchamber, made of precious stones, was decked with garlands and supplied with perfumes, lamps consisting of bright gems, and a canopy lovely beyond words. He alone who saw it could know what it was like. Having thus prepared a number of fine beds, the queens took up Sri Rama and lovingly laid him down upon one of them. On being repeatedly asked by Sri Rama, his brothers too retired each to his own bed. As the mothers gazed on the swarthy limbs of Sri Rama, so soft and attractive, they all exclaimed in loving accents, "How did you manage, dear child, to kill the most dreadful demoness Tardaka while on your way to the forest? How were you able to slay those monstrous giants, the wicked Maricha and Subahu, and their followers, who were formidable warriors and counted none before them in battle. I offer myself, dear child, as a sacrifice for your sake. It was through the goodwill of sage Vishwamitra alone that God kept away a number of calamities from you. Even while you and your brother Lakshmana guarded the sacrifice, you were initiated into all the secret lore. At the mere touch of the dust from your feet, the hermit's wife, Ahalya, attained salvation, and your glory filled the whole universe. In the assembly of princes, you broke Shiva's bow, hard though it was as a tortoise shell, or adamant, or rock. You gained the glory of having triumphed over the world and won the hand of Janaka's daughter, and then returned home after marrying all your brothers. All your actions have been superhuman and were accomplished only by the grace of sage Kaushika. Our birth into the world has borne fruit today, as we now behold, dear child, your moon-like face. Our prayer is that the number of days that have been spent without seeing you may not be reckoned by the Creator at all. Do you want to keep going? And I'll just say that we'll pause at 360. So a little while off.
Pause at 360.
Yeah, because that's when I've got to say the next title.
Sri Rama gratified all his mothers by addressing sweet and polite words to them and fixing his thoughts on the feet of Shiva. His preceptors, Vasistha and Vishwamitra, and the Brahmanas in general. He closed his eyes to sleep. Even during sleep, his most charming countenance gleamed as a red lotus, half closed at eventide. In every house, women kept vigil and railed at one another in auspicious strains. The queens said to one another, "See, friends, how resplendent the city is, and how splendid the night." The mothers-in-law then slept with the lovely brides enfolded in their arms, even as serpents would clasp onto their bosom the gems from their hood. At the, at the holy hour before dawn, the Lord awoke, and the cocks commenced their charming crowing. The rhapsodists and genealogists sang his praises, while the citizens flocked to the gate to make their obeisance. The four brothers bowed to the Brahmanas and gods, as well as their preceptor and parents, and were glad to receive their blessings. The mothers reverently gazed on their countenance as the princes repaired to the gate with the king. Though pure in themselves, the four brothers performed all the purificatory acts and bathed in the holy river Sarayu, and having gone through their morning chores or prayer, returned to their father. It's just a footnote here about the purification acts. So such as evacuating the bowels, cleansing the privates, the hands with water and clay, rinsing the mouth, brushing the teeth, cleansing the tongue, etc. Back to the text. The king, on seeing them, embraced them to his bosom, and the four brothers gladly sat down on receiving his permission. The whole court was gratified to see Sri Rama and accounted their eyes supremely blessed. Then came the sages and who were seated upon splendid seats. The father and sons adored the sages and clasped their feet, and the two preceptors were enraptured to behold Sri Rama. Sage Vasishtha narrated sacred legends, while the king and the ladies of the Gynoeceum listened. In the course of his narration, the sage gladly recounted in diverse ways the doings of Vishwamitra and surpassed the imagination even of hermits. Vamadeva, another family preceptor of King Dashatha, observed that whatever Vasishtha said was true, and that Vishwamitra's fair renown had pervaded all the three spheres. Everyone rejoiced to hear that, while Sri Rama and Lakshmana were all the more delighted at heart. There were constant felicity, joy, and rejoicing, and days rolled on in this way. The city of Ayodhya was inundated with tidal waves of delight, swelling higher and still higher. After fixing an auspicious day, the sacred strings, tied round the wrist of the brides and the bridegrooms before the wedding for warding off evil spirits, were taken off with great felicity, joy, and merriment. The gods were filled with envy to see new rejoicings every day, and begged of the Creator that they might be born in Ayodhya. Excuse me. Vishwamitra intended leaving every day, but was detained by Sri Rama's affectionate entreaties. Seeing the king's devotion to him grow 100-fold day by day, the great sage Vishwamitra was full of appreciation for him. At last, when he asked to leave to go, the king was greatly moved, and with his sons stood before him, saying, "My lord, all that I have is yours, while I, alongside with my sons and wives, are your servants." Sorry, I'll take a drink.
Yeah, it's fine. Did you want me to go? Or you're right.
Oh, I'll try to keep going.
Yeah.
My sinuses are playing up.
Mm.
Be ever gracious to these boys, and condescend from time to bless me with your presence. So saying, the king, with his sons and queens, fell at his feet. His speech failed him due to rapturous love. The Brahmana, Vishwamitra, invoked upon him every kind of blessing, and departed amidst a scene of love that defied all description. Sri Rama and all his brothers lovingly escorted him, and returned only when they were told to do so. It's 360 for now.
Oh, yep. So now we're up to the last section of the Balakanda, which is the glory of hearing and singing the story of Sri Rama. There you go.
The delighter of Gadi's race, Vishwamitra, gladly went on his way, eulogizing to himself Sri Rama's beauty. King Dasharatha's piety, the wedding of Sri Rama and Sita, and the festivities and rejoicing connected there within. Vamadeva and the wise preceptor of Raghu's race, Vasista, once more narrated the story of Vishwamitra. On hearing the sage's bright glory, the king praised to himself the value of his stock of merits, punya, which attracted the sage to his house and won for him his favor. At the royal command, the people dispersed, while the king with his sons returned to his palace. Everywhere the people sang the narrative of Sri Rama's wedding, and his holy and fair fame got extensively known through all the three spheres. Ever since Sri Rama came home duly married, all kinds of joy took abode in Ayodhya. The festivities that followed the Lord's wedding were more than Saraswati, the goddess of speech, or the Lord of serpents Sisa could relate. I know that the glory of Sri Rama and Sita is the very life and sanctifier of the race of poets, and a mine of blessings. That is why I have narrated it a bit in detail just to hallow my speech. For the purpose of sanctifying his speech, has Tulsidasa sung Sri Rama's glory. Otherwise, the story of Sri Rama is a limitless ocean, which no poet has ever been able to cross. Those men who reverently hear or sing the tale of the auspicious festivities attendant on Sri Rama's investiture with the sacred thread, and marriage shall ever be happy by the grace of Janaki and Sri Rama. Those who lovingly sing or hear the story of Sri Sita and Sri Rama's marriage shall ever rejoice, for Sri Rama's glory is an abode of felicity. Thus ends the first descent into the Manasa, lake of Sri Rama's exploits that eradicate all the impurities of the Kali age. Next time we'll be on to the Ayodhya Kand.
Cool. You finished the first book?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to have a break for a bit and we'll keep going, or you had enough?
I'd like to get going, but my sinuses have gone funny all of a sudden. I'm really struggling to read and breathe at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all good. But yeah, let's have a break for it.
Have a break for a bit, yeah. I'll press pause.